We now have the income statement and also the balance sheet of Big Rock Candy Mountain. And so why don't we move on to the next question? So number 2 reads, in the fiscal year of 2016, how much did Big Rock pay as dividends to its shareholders? Write the number below the income statement. So from the question here, we can see that there is no information regarding dividend on the income statement and also the balance sheet, right? So we will have to manually figure it out. And so how and where can we find the information about the dividends? It's actually related to the income statement item, and that particular item would be net income. So if you think about it, net income is actually split into two separate items, and one would be the amount that is paid out to your shareholders, and that amount is called dividends, right? And after you take out certain parts to pay to your shareholders, the remainder is actually kept inside the company, and that amount is called retained earnings or addition to retained earnings because it was added to retained earnings, right? So if you recall from the balance sheet, there is a separate item called retained earnings, and we actually have two values for retained earnings for 2015 and also for 2016. And what it means is that throughout the year from 2015 to 2016, the amount for retained earnings increased that much. What does it mean? The difference was actually added to retained earnings. Okay, so the difference would actually mean the addition to retained earnings. All right, so keep that in mind. Then let's go back to income statement and start calculating the amount for the amount for dividend. So let's first write net income below the income statement amount because this will be the starting point. And net income is actually again split into dividends and in addition to retained earnings, right? But as we can figure out the information for addition to retained earnings. I'm going to write addition to retained earnings first, and the difference between the two will actually be equal to the one we are solving for, which is dividend amount. So net income for 2016 minus addition to retained earnings 2016 will be equal to the dividend amount that was paid in 2016. So how much is the net income amount? That will be just automatically copied from above and will be 14,985. And how much did we add to the retained earnings? That would be the difference between the ending value of retained earnings minus the beginning value of retained earnings, right? So retained earnings for 2016 minus retained earnings for 2015, that amount will actually be equal to addition to retained earnings. And the difference between the two, how much would that be? Top minus bottom, 0. So what does it mean? The Big Rock Candy Mountain Company, they didn't pay out a single penny to their shareholders during the year 2016.